Hi everyone. So, having recently shown off my skills as a musician, I thought maybe I should show off my rather tenuous skills as a driver. I recently did a track day at Thruxton, and so I thought I would make a little vlog out of it and talk about everything that happened while you enjoy watching me do laps of the track in 4K HD and full 360. So while the instructor is explaining everything to me, and I stall a few times, I'll explain what's going on and everything that happened before this. So this was basically a very belated 30th birthday present, as shown by the fact that I'm now actually 31. It just took a long time to get around to actually getting it arranged and done. There was quite a lot going on, not just this, which is me driving a Formula Renault car, which was the main part of what I had to do. So I went to Thruxton. We had a safety briefing that we have to do because there's quite a lot of other people there doing similar events, driving single-seaters like me, or being driven by professionals, or doing test runs in sports cars. So they did the safety briefing and they just explained about racing lines and how to overtake and everything in the flags. And this is all stuff I know already for obvious reasons. And Thruxton as well is a circuit that I know because it's relatively local to where I grew up. And as a child, I spent many an hour playing TOCA 2 touring cars. I know the circuit already. And as you'll see when I get on track, they put cones out on all the apexes and corners to help people with racing lines and everything. Before the safety briefing, I actually briefly saw Tiffany Dell, so that was quite cool. And again, TOCA 2 touring cars, grew up listening to his voice in that game, and never really watched old Top Gear, watched a little bit of Fifth Gear, so obviously he's quite a very distinctive voice in the British motorsport world. So the very first thing we did after this is that we were given a lap by an instructor in a Ford Focus ST, and this was quite fun because he was just casually like, oh yeah, you want to brake here about here and hit the apex there, and we're bombing along at like 120 miles an hour down the back straight and going around the corners, your knees are coming up, and he couldn't understand a word he was saying. There were three of us in the car with him, and yeah, we got out of the car after a few laps and he's like, yeah, so you've probably forgotten all of that now. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot to think about because I know the circuit, but my biggest concern was overtaking because it was a bit confusing because the cars will indicate that I'm going this way, so you pass me, but single seaters can't do that. You have to signal with them with your hand, and that was my main concern, was doing that or either stalling the car, because in the instructor video they said the car you will drive, you have to think about weight distribution when you're braking and accelerating, and the car could spin out on you depending on the conditions. And as you can see now that I'm on track, I was extremely lucky with the weather because it rained very heavily in the morning, and the track is damp in a couple of places, but the sun is out. It's late in the day now, but the sun is out, the track is dry. It was still very cold though, so I had perfect weather basically. So I did that, and then the next thing I had to do was I did 3 laps of my own in a Porsche Cayman S, and that was so much fun because before that, the only cars I'd driven was a 1 Series BMW diesel that I learnt to drive in, a Peugeot 306, a Peugeot 207, and a Ford Fiesta. So nothing anywhere near a proper sports car like that. I had an instructor in the car with me, and you have like a score sheet, and they would give you an assessment of how your driving is. And he looks about 18 or 19, and we got on the car, and he's making notes on this score sheet, and he's just like, start the car and put it in first. And I was thinking, am I doing my driving test again or something? But then we got going, and the second we got out of the pit lane, he was like, go on, full power, and really enthusiastic. I thought it was we'll ease into it for a lap, but he just wanted me to bomb it immediately. And to be fair, I could. I mean, it was the car, obviously it's a high-end sports car. Porsche Cayman has a lot of power. It had so much grip because it's like a track car. I'm sure it had Pirelli on the number plate, so it more than likely had race tyres on it, because at no point did I feel out of control. And I got up to about 120, 130 on the back straight, and he would jokingly flip off the other instructors as we were driving past them, because he would kind of make you race the others. He's like, oh god, you can catch this guy, let's get him and everything. And he must have had so much confidence. He's never driven in a car with me. He wants me to go full whack like this. And there were several other people out on the track. There was me, there were the Ford Focuses, there were other Caymans, a couple of single seaters, there was a Radical out there as well. So there were a lot of things out on track at once. We did a few laps of that, and that was a huge amount of fun. And then he gave me an assessment. I got 73 out of 100, so pretty good. He basically said really good understanding of lines, good control, good speed. Just remember to brake in a straight line, I think was his main thing. So yeah, and then it was time for what you're seeing now, which is this Formula Renault single-seater. So I was really nervous about this because I'd seen videos like the one you're watching now before talking about it. And when I said Formula Renault, when I first signed up for this, I was wondering if it was going to be a modern one that would have like a halo and a sequential gearbox and do all of that. But this, as you can see, is a bit of an old one. It had a manual 4-speed transmission in an H pattern, but the gear stick was on the right, not the left, which was a little confusing. But also, there wasn't any reference, so it was basically a gear stick on a lever and a piston, so you had to go visually rather than there's a marker saying first, second, third, fourth. And the other thing they told me was that you have to put the clutch in twice to get it into first, and that was why, as you saw at the beginning of the video, I stalled I think 3 times in the pit lane because I put no power down, and that's one of my just deficiencies as a motorist. I've had my driver's license for 6 years now, but I don't drive very often and only short distances, so I'm not the most confident driver. So that just threw me off a bit, and it was difficult to hear what he was saying because of the helmet and everything, and once the engine is started up. Even though in this video, in the audio, I've turned it down, but I'll turn it up again later and you can listen. It picks up the wind more than the actual engine, but it had quite a bit of grunt. I did eventually get it moving. Once you're out on track, you're in third at the 2 chicanes and then fourth for everything else because it's a very high-speed circuit. And it felt good. I mean, it was as you also, and you're seeing as well, is that the track, apart from here where I just got passed by 2 people, the track was mostly empty. I did 5 laps, and for a lot of it, there was nobody else out there. And I was thinking, was I supposed to come in? Because when you go past the start-finish line, the marshal holds out a sign saying in, and that means you're in lap. And so I was thinking, am I doing something wrong? And they were saying also, don't redline it too much, because I think they'd rev limited these. Because the car itself, single-seater, very light, it probably only had maybe 150 horsepower at the most. Because I think on the back straight, as we saw how quickly those 2 went past me, I was maybe doing 80, 90, I don't know, so not that fast. But it felt fast in the car, and it had a lot of grunt. I mean, my parents were there, and they were filming from the observation tower that I would have just driven past. And I saw it back, and I was like, it was so slow. Like, it felt so much faster. It helped as well. I was being blasted in the face with, like, freezing cold air, because it was like 6 degrees outside, and it was coming in through the gap in the visor and up under my chin as well. But it felt like, because I've done go-karting before, and I used to work at a go-kart circuit, it felt like just a very fast go-kart. Like, I wasn't concerned at any point about spinning, and I never felt out of control. Maybe if I was going faster, I would have. But most of it, you were just going full throttle. The pedals were very, very close together, and the brake was very sensitive. You had to push the clutch in really far, but not the accelerator or the brake. And I had to be careful. I was doing my go-kart thing of I would sometimes press the clutch when I meant to press the brake, because you drive it just like a road car, but obviously the gear stick is on the opposite side if you drive on the left. But it's also because it was redlining a lot, and this is what I was thinking, am I in second when I should be in fourth? And I kept, you can see if you look around, I'm checking the mirrors all the time even though there's nobody on track, but I was always looking at the gear stick to see it was leaning to the right. I was like, okay, it is in fourth, because it was redlining a lot, and I felt like I could go faster, and I was starting to smell something burning clutch or burning tyre at high speeds, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I should ease off a little, because I don't want to damage this or, have the car break down. My biggest concern was either having an accident or to spin and maybe stall and just be stuck on track, because that's obviously a disaster, and if I couldn't get it going on by myself, that would be difficult. But even so, it's still, it was quite easy. I mean, most of the time the mirrors, it was quite easy to see, although there were some corners. I mean, we were told you can't overtake in the corners, for obvious reasons. And actually, when I was driving the Cayman, we nearly hit somebody because they tried to, they weren't to let us pass, but then they just moved into the middle of the track going through a corner, and we nearly hit them. But with this, I was a bit hesitant to push it too hard because I was worried about breaking it or doing something else. But I tried to just gradually get the speed up and tried to get a bit more aggressive with it, but within the limits of what it could do. I don't know what series this car would have been used. I'm just told it's Formula Renault 90s manual gearbox. So, I don't know if this is the kind of thing you would have seen the F1 stars of the future in the late 80s and early 90s driving. I think it must have been rev limited. They mentioned the rev limit up to 4,000. It probably does go beyond that, because it did just feel like, I felt like there was so much more in there. And if you look, I tried watching this video back and roughly timing the lap times, and it was about a 2:20 was my best lap. And I was thinking, that's really not good for Thruxton, because not that I could get anywhere near it. The lap record, the official lap record, is about a 1:03 in a Formula 2 car. Touring cars maybe do a 1:10, 1:15. The outright fastest lap was Damon Hill. He did a run in the Williams FW15C in 1993, and he did it in 57 seconds with an average speed of 140 miles an hour. So this is what they say, because they would claim it's the fastest circuit in the country, and that's pretty much true, because Silverstone is bigger, because Thruxton, like Silverstone and also Castle Combe, which is my local circuit, they all started life as the perimeter track of a airfield in World War II. And so that's why they're so high speed. But obviously Silverstone has been continuously modified over the years, and now we have that infield section around Abbey and the Wellington Straight. It has lowered the average speed quite a lot, whereas Thruxton is still largely unchanged. It has the 2 chicanes at the beginning and the end, but otherwise it's basically the same. So yeah, I did my 5 laps. I mean, you'll see in a second, probably maybe just as I'm coming through the chicane now, I give the thumbs up to the instructor telling me that it's my in lap. And yeah, I came in and just kind of sort of just coasted to a stop in second, because I was like, I don't want to go into first if I'm going to stall it, because I was a bit confused about that still. Once that was done, I then got to do a lap as a passenger with a professional driver, and that was in the Focus again. But this time we did 3 laps, and he put it in sportswear. There was another customer in there with me that was looking to see if I could get my parents to join, but I don't think they would have wanted to. But he immediately was just drifting through the corners and screeching the tyres up, and I loved it. I mean, I didn't feel scared at all, because I trusted the guy, because he knows what he's doing, even though he was having to pass other people doing their slow laps and everything. We were still getting up to about 130, 140, and for me, it was just amazing, because I've played endless video games my whole life, but my driving, I only drive, on the roads and everything. This is my first time driving at speed or experiencing fast cars. And a Ford Focus, it's a mid-range sports car. It's not the fastest thing out there. I mean, they had like Ferraris and McLarens you could drive. That wasn't part of my package. But it was still, I was amazed how fast it was and how aggressive he could be. And so it was just really exhilarating. And maybe I shouldn't say this, it's given me a bit more confidence on the roads, although maybe it shouldn't really affect how I drive on the roads. But it makes you think as well, 60, 70 on a motorway, it's not really that fast when you're going at 120 down the back straight. I mean, here just now I'm probably doing about 80 or 90 at the most before I come in and come in for the end. So yeah, that was all that took place, really. It was a lot of fun, and if you have the time to do something like this, I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, I'll shut up now and let you listen for a bit before I come into the pits. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok and Threads at Brook_F1. Check out the DRS Train podcast. We've got a very special guest on this week. Thank you as ever to my Patreon subscribers, especially my newest subscribers, Emil Norden and 9NotWeebHow8. Do subscribe to my Patreon if you want early access to audio-only versions of each video, as well as a few videos that YouTube won't allow me to put up. And I'll see you all next time.